Demons taking over, we gon' be the ones to slay 'em. I learned from the best, now these bodies bout to drop. Everybody get to running, cause you bout to lose the top. We'll tell the Demon King that we gon' take it back. Be ready with them weapons, keep it on our backs. Okay. Not in the military, but I'm still a soldier.
Episode 8. Strong One. After the rules were explained, King Jack took his seat. With a simple flick, he sent the miniature bolt toward the group of humans. It traveled the distance and hovered over them, as small as a piece of string, yet its bright, light blue glow made it visible to everyone. "Please don't touch me," Omari repeated in his head, dreadfully glancing at the bolt as if it wielded a blade, ready to go toe-to-toe with him. A bolt was directed at the animal people. It remained in the air briefly before descending, touching a hairy Caucasian male with a tail on the beast's side and an older, dark-skinned gentleman on the human side. The man stood and walked confidently to the center of the arena. As he advanced, his opponent stood and confidently advanced toward the middle of the arena to stand opposite him. "What a joke this is. I hope he kicks his naked ass," said the young mid-20-year-old soldier. Not many of them there knew it, but the young man's name was Samuel, one of the youngest soldiers in the military. Omari wanted to speak to the man he sat next to. One, to attempt to calm his nerves, if that was even possible. He felt a bit of relief when the bolt didn't pick him, yet it didn't last long. The second reason was because of who he resembled. "Are you both ready?" the king shouted from his seat. The beast person smiled, yet the man just continued staring at him with a straight face. "Fight!" the king shouted, and the beast people cheered. This was the first matchup, and they were all ready to show off to their superiors. Immediately, the beast person transformed into a vicious 12-foot-tall hyena, leaving everyone on the human side not only speechless but motionless. Fear was evident on multiple faces, especially Omari's, and even the young mid-20-year-old, who had a whole lot to say in the cabin just moments ago. "What the hell is this?" he asked inwardly, right before looking at the cheering group of naked individuals. "So that's why these naked freaks are naked. They really are freaks." This is what he meant when he said, "Wait till he sees what we can really do." A dreadful look could be seen on Samuel's face. "Not so confident now, huh, mouthy one?" King Jack said amongst the four of them, looking past the fight, just to see the looks on the people's faces. The young one stood out to him. Seeing his demeanor do a complete 180 put a smile on the king's face. However, that smile didn't last long after getting a glimpse at the other one who stood out to him, the one who sat next to Omari. That villager was still looking just as nonchalant as he was before. In a way, he had become intrigued by the man. He wouldn't have minded seeing him fight sooner rather than later. The hyena grew his claws 6 inches longer, and with that, they became sharper. Sharp enough to cut through steel like nothing. From the back of the villager's hand, the bone grew about 7 inches long and had a sharp, pointy tip like a kitchen knife, penetrating his skin. But because he had gotten used to the slight drawback using his gift came with, the pain he felt was only minor, plus his skin would heal up fairly quickly. Even he had lost a great deal of confidence when looking at his opponent, mouth wide open until the point of activating his gift. The hyena swiped his paw at the villager a few times, attempting to slice him in halves with his deadly sharp claws, yet the villager would dodge by jumping back, barely out of its reach. Bit by bit, the hyena was getting more frustrated the more the man moved, so he continued striking, almost relentlessly, and with a powerful downward strike, he attempted to claw the man in two. The villager jumped right, just as the paw crashed down. Before moving, he retaliated with a slash to the left foreleg, drawing blood. The hyena growled in pain and swiped again, but the villager had already moved. Used to fighting humans, he knew 12-foot-tall hyenas were a different story. "As long as I keep moving," he thought, "I have a good chance of winning." The hyena turned to begin another barrage of paw swipes. As soon as the hyena lifted its paw, the 5-foot, 6-man ran under the hyena with his arm raised. With a slash to its stomach, he emerged on the right side, causing the hyena to stumble as more blood fell. They gazed at each other, waiting for the other to make a move. "I know he's hurt, but how fast do these things recover?" the soldier thought. The hyena advanced as the soldier prepared to dodge, just as he had been doing before. Unfortunately for him, the hyena did something he did not expect. With its strong legs, the hyena launched itself, teeth first, head turned to the side, directly at the soldier, getting a good grip around the soldier's body with its razor-sharp teeth. Standing upright on all fours, the hyena began pressing down on the soldier, digging its teeth in more. The man yelled in pain. With one arm free, the soldier attempted to launch his bone blade into the side of the beast's mouth, but the pain and blood loss were too much for his body to take. Gripping the man tight in its teeth, the hyena placed its paw on top of the man's body from chest up and pressed down until his body snapped in two, with that portion of his body slamming against the ground. The hybrid beast then made itself comfortable and began gnawing and chewing on the soldier like a regular piece of meat, ripping his body and limbs apart until there was nothing left but a few bones and chunks of meat. Omari almost crapped his pants. Others felt sick to their stomachs. Meanwhile, the man sitting next to Omari showed, at most, a small frown. How can you continue to sit so comfortably while watching someone be eaten like that? Omari asked. Yet, he didn't acknowledge Omari, just sat there as if he were alone. Maybe he is deaf, Omari thought. After the hyena finished eating, it stood up on all fours and attempted to make it back to the group, yet only made it about halfway before collapsing on its side. Pleased with the spectacle and his beast's performance, King Jack rose from his throne, met by a chorus of cheers. "Two of you," he announced, his voice easily carrying over the entire area, "will bear our true victor to the castle. You've earned your place beside my brother and me. Before we embark on our search, all who impresses us will receive the treatment and the rest you deserve." As two of the beast people moved to obey, the humans, except for one, displayed expressions of either terror or disgust, a sight that greatly pleased the king. His huge grin never left his face. "I wonder if Rolf's military will react the same way should our paths cross again during this search," he thought to himself. "Hey, brother," said Sebastian, getting his attention. "Maybe you should bend the rules just a bit for this next one, if you know what I mean. I'm dying to see how that one with the stupid hair fights. He continues to look way too confident over there." The king considered it briefly, then shrugged it off, conceding to Sebastian's point. He could have waited, perhaps, but curiosity gnawed at him. He couldn't deny his interest in the strange villager. The king gestured, sending a bolt of energy arcing through the air toward the humans, though in his mind, its destination was already decided. "Should we allow Kong to participate in this fight?" Sebastian asked, not even bothering to whisper. Though his voice wasn't loud, Kong could still clearly hear the question. Why not? He's desperate to prove himself. Let him. Maybe he really is stronger than we give him credit for. The three of them stood clustered outside their home, concern etched on their faces. "What are we going to do if our son is missing, Jabari?" "We're going to find him, that's what. He probably just got overwhelmed and wandered off into the woods. He doesn't even realize the trouble he's causing, for all of us. I wish we had some kind of mobile communicator we could call him on. I'd tell him to get his butt back here immediately." Zuri stood nearby, glaring at the woods, her hand on her chin, lost in thought. Ada noticed and asked, "Something on your mind, Zuri? Anything you might know would certainly help us right now." And that's when Zuri's eyes widened and her mouth gaped open. "What is it?" Jabari asked, his voice laced with concern. "Do you remember that giant gorilla we told you about? What if it went back to his family and assembled a group of other giant gorillas? And they've been tracking Omari down to exact their revenge." They both just stared at her, her hand still covering her mouth. "Oh please, Zuri, don't be ridiculous," Jabari scoffed. "I believed you too the other week when you told me you were chased by a gorilla, and I still apologize for putting you in that situation. However, you lost me when you told me he was supposedly 12 or 13 feet tall and had glowing red eyes. I figured you two were exaggerating and seeing things because you were scared, which is what I still believe. Because I'm not sure if you know this or not, but animals can't be gifted. Now you're saying they are smart enough to track down Omari, somehow figure out exactly where he lives, and manage to sneak in and grab Omari without anyone knowing anything. First off, they wouldn't even be able to fit through the doors. Unless Omari was already outside when he was taken." Zuri gasped, her eyes widening. "Outside or inside, it doesn't make sense. It is more reasonable to conclude that he simply proceeded into the woods. Alone." "Right, then the gorillas got him," Zuri said, covering her mouth again, as if she'd cracked the code. "No giant gorillas. If Omari saw any gorilla of any size, trust me he'd be here by now. Right now, he's just somewhere hoping we don't find him. Plus, I'm pretty sure he didn't go too far out either. So Zuri, come with me, and let's hurry. Omari should have been at the trials a long time ago." Jabari then advanced toward the woods right after saying those words. "You got it," she said right before starting to follow. The humans stared dreadfully at the second bolt as it hovered above them, not knowing who it would sting next. When the bolt did move, it began to fall in Omari's direction. "Oh no, I'm going to die," he repeated in his mind, shutting his eyes tight. He waited for the stinging of the bolt, yet he hadn't felt anything. However, he could hear a small zapping sound coming from beside him. As he opened his eyes, the man next to him was standing to his feet. Carefully stepping through everyone, the villager took his time, making his way to the middle of the arena. "Kong, get in there," the king said. Then, a large smile grew on Kong's face as he walked toward the middle. "Thank you, King Jack. I promise you'll enjoy this fight as much as the first, even though I intend to end it quickly." Before even reaching the center, the villager stopped, crossed his arms, and stared at his adversary. "Did you see that?" A dark-skinned woman sitting next to Samuel said. They didn't even use a bolt to choose his opponent. They already had someone figured out. "It doesn't matter. This whole thing is just bullshit, and most of us are going to end up like the first guy." Stopping a few feet from the center of the arena, Kong stared with an evil, overconfident smile, not even realizing that he wasn't facing the same person who had run from him in the woods. "It's time I have my revenge," he said loudly right before transforming into his gorilla form, his eyes glowing red from the start. "The best part is, everyone will be able to watch me do it." "Oh crap, I think that's the same gorilla that chased Zuri and me." The gorilla turned his head slightly to look at Omari, then back at the one standing a few yards away from him. I know it's him. He's going to kill him and me next," he thought, feeling uneasy. "Fight!" King Jack shouted, his voice projecting loudly and echoing throughout the entire woods. Kong pounded his fist against his chest 3 times hard, right before advancing towards the mistaken villager, yet he never unfolded his arms nor moved from his spot. "Is he just going to stand there and die?" Freya asked, speaking among the 4 of them. Although they could not hear her, most of the humans were wondering the exact same thing. Sebastian smiled. He might be too shaken up to move. That confident look he's been portraying simply meant he had accepted his fate. He knew he'd die. He's just comfortable with it. "I'm already disappointed," King Jack complained. After using his powerful legs to leap into the air, Kong placed his hands together, interlocking his fingers to form a ball, his eyes glowing with a menacing red light. The man nonchalantly unfolded his arms, dropping only one to his side. Kong had begun to fall, getting closer, anxiously ready to pound the man with his powerful attack. The man's right arm, which didn't fall to his side, remained across his chest, hand in the form of a knife, as if he were going to perform a chop. He swiped that arm from left to right, sending out a black wind blade moving at such an incredible speed that its color was the only reason anyone could glimpse it. It passed through Kong's midsection like a knife through a hot, boiled carrot, splitting his body in 2 before he could even reach the ground. The man wasn't holding a knife, sword, or anything. He was just that strong. Blood drenched the villager as the upper portion of Kong's body dropped behind the man, and Kong's lower half fell just short of where he stood. The entire area sat with their mouths wide open. King Jack, his pack lords, the beast people waiting to fight, and even the humans. The villager calmly took off his bloody tunic and dropped it on the ground, showing off his toned muscles and abs, causing some of the women, even Georgina, to give him a certain look despite what had just happened. Without doing much else, he calmly walked back to his spot next to Omari, sat down, and then closed his eyes. I can't believe he just killed Kong like that with such ease. He didn't even move from his spot. He's a strong one, said Freya. No, I told you Kong was weak, Sebastian proclaimed, but the king was a bit shaken up. He hadn't been able to close his mouth since it opened. After watching the first match, the king expected the possibility of one or more beast people losing a fight. However, he didn't expect to see one get killed, especially not so quickly. He expected that if a beast did lose, they could stop the fight before the human went too far. But too far had come and gone in a matter of seconds. Weak or not, Kong was still one of his own. It had been years since the king had witnessed one of his beasts die right before his eyes, and Kong's death dredged up that dreadful feeling once more, a feeling he loathed. The tournament was meant to identify the best of the best, ensuring fewer deaths during the actual search, not to cause deaths before the search even began. He wondered if Jeremiah was right. Would they indeed get exactly what they were looking for, only to find they couldn't stomach it? Looking at the king's face, a smile spread across Jeremiah's. King Jack, Freya repeated, her head turned to the right, looking past Georgina. We have to continue the tournament. The king just stared at Kong's corpse. Just remember why we're doing this, okay? Who knows? The next match could be different. The next match will undoubtedly be different. These humans aren't stronger than us. You've all seen their faces every time we transform. I cared about Kong too, but we all knew he was the weaker link. That's why I questioned whether he would be a good matchup for that cocky bastard brother. Anyway, what's done is done. Now that the weak one is resting, I'm willing to bet any one of these other beasts will murder that man in seconds. Georgina and Freya both sighed. The king then rose from his throne. Two of you, please remove Kong's body and place him off to the side. We will give him a proper burial after the tournament. Two beasts stood up and transformed, doing as the king commanded. The king flicked two more bolts. One hit a naked beast male, and the other struck a dark-skinned woman in her late 20s. She was a soldier assigned to guard the vault during the hours most people slept, yet she was very skilled. Short hair, slim but curvy, her name was Zola. Both landed in the center, facing each other. The woman stared at his animal-like features. You're quite hairy, and your hands are as big as your stomach. I wonder what you can do, she said, a small grin playing on her lips. The naked man chuckled, then transformed into a 13-foot-tall grizzly bear. But this wasn't the same grizzly bear who had been gifted the ability to manipulate the Earth's surface. Give up now, bear. You have zero chance of winning this fight. No one here would, not even your stupid king. Haha, don't make me laugh. The bear chuckled again. King Jack would rip you limb from limb before you even had a chance to blink, much like what I'm about to do. I mean, just look at you. Small, and like you've never been in a real fight a day in your life. Not to mention our height difference. You're short. Meanwhile, I'm standing at 13 feet tall. I could crush you like a bug just by falling on you. He said those last words proudly. Our height and tone difference doesn't mean anything, certainly not to me. And for your information, she said, getting into her fighting stance, sometimes my friends and I hunt bears for fun. Just wait until they see you. My, they're going to think I'm the best hunter in the kingdom. The bear was furious, letting out a loud growl, anxiously ready to make her regret her words. Fight, the king announced, and the grizzly bear raised its left paw, swiping it to strike the woman across the face in a powerful slap that would certainly send her to the ground. The strike was strong yet highly telegraphed, allowing her to react. She ducked the strike, but could still hear a swooshing sound as his attack went over her head. The bear opened his mouth wide as he hunched forward to get his mouth at the same level as her head, since he was much taller. Staring into the bear's open jaws, she saw something forming, or rather, something rising from within him. In seconds, a huge stream of water shot out towards her. She ran right, continuing to sprint as the stream flew over the heads of the humans, before the bear turned his head to follow her. Of course, some of them thought they were going to get hit. Omari put his head in his hands, shaking it while rocking back and forth, on the verge of tears. He looked like a sad baby. Noticing Omari's near breakdown, the man next to him glanced over and decided to speak for the first time.
You're no gifted, are you?
Surprised, Omari didn't answer right away. He stopped rocking and shaking his head, then slowly lifted it from his palms, looking straight at the man next to him. Yes, actually. I am. I'm telekinetic. It was passed down from my dad.
You're telekinetic, yet you're over here about to have a breakdown? Man up. I wish I had your gift. You must have never had any training. Yeah, that has to be it.
My dad trained me since I was 10 years old, with my hands, my feet, and even taught me how to use a staff. It's just that I never asked for any of it. It's because of it all that I'm here now. I'm not a fighter. I'm terrified because I know even with all that training, I don't have a chance against these beasts. Omari sighed. It's just not who I am.
Have some damn confidence in yourself. If you've trained, then do exactly what you were taught. Shoot, with telekinesis, you can probably pick up any one of these bastards and throw them across the woods. You're strong enough to do that, right? You look as if you might be. Listen, if you've never learned anything in your life, you need to know this for sure. You're never going to win a fight or accomplish anything without having confidence in yourself first. You have to really believe with all your strength and training that you can take these things out like trash. You think these beast people things had training? Please, They're just oversized animals disguised as people.
Omari felt somewhat better after hearing the man's words, but words could only do so much. He didn't know why the man had chosen to speak to him, but the conversation opened a door, allowing Omari to finally express what was on his mind. Thanks for the advice, sir. And this might sound strange and a bit out of place, but you resemble my best friend, Zuri. I've noticed it since I first saw you, but with everything going on, it seemed silly to mention. You two have the same hairstyle and everything. Internally, the man wanted to shout, his mind reeling.
Did he just say?
His inner voice rising in disbelief. Yet outwardly, he remained calm, only turning his head slightly towards the ongoing fight.
Does this friend of yours have a mother?
The man asked after a short moment of silence. Huh, a mother? Well, of course she does. And a stepdad as well if that helps. Omari wasn't sure why he asked about her mother, but he hadn't seen any harm in answering. It's Fatima. Untouched by the bear's attacks, the woman created space. She joined her palms, fingers pointing upward, and adopted a posture of tranquil anticipation. I don't really need to use this on you, she said, a chilling calmness in her voice, but I will, just to show you that you never stood a chance. Even as the words left her lips, a subtle red glow began to bloom, rising from her feet to engulf her head. It pulsed with an inner rhythm, flickering like a heartbeat made of light. Whoa, Omari said softly, impressed written all over his face. Is that part of her gift? He needed to know.
No. It's called Essence Surge, a technique most people use on their enemies when the situation's gotten too severe. There are 5 different stages of Essence Surge, and you literally have to put your body through hell to learn even one of them. The red glow means she's mastered the surge to boost her strength tremendously. All her punches and kicks should feel like being hit by an entire house.
What about her gift? Does it make her gift stronger? If she has one.
Essence Surge doesn't affect one's gift at all. Even non-gifted can learn Essence Surge. It's just a temporary boost to one's physical body alone, but it's invaluable in dangerous situations.
The bear froze for a second, shocked. Neither he nor the other beast people understood the strange power the woman displayed. But after his moment of surprise was over, the bear grinned, baring his teeth, and slammed his fist into the ground. The woman initially thought he was acting out of frustration until she felt a vibration under her feet. Oh crap, she exclaimed right before diving off to the side. A water stream had erupted from the ground, shooting straight up in the air and appearing as a wide, circular platform. Though she dove to the side, her legs were clipped, causing her body to lift and forward flip once before crashing down on her front. Damn. Get up, Zola. Get up, get up. As she scrambled to her feet, the bear's fist crashed into the ground once more. The tremor jolted through her, spurring her to sprint forward and dive again, narrowly escaping the blow with a jarring landing. Regaining her footing, she pressed on. Suddenly, the bear slammed its other fist down, summoning another water stream that shot up directly in her path. She halted just before colliding with the surging water. With both hands raised, she projected a wave of frost towards the stream, freezing the water midair into a colossal, gleaming pillar of ice. The sudden transformation shimmered, casting an ethereal glow on the battlefield. Peeking around the pillar, she extended her right arm and launched a volley of ice shards at the bear's head. Forced to stand upright and shield himself, his massive belly was exposed, and she seized the opportunity, pelting it with ice as she advanced. The bear swayed, but she was relentless, halting just before entering striking range. Her body pulsing with the faint red glow, she clenched her fist, jumped forward and unleashed a devastating blow to his midsection, sending him crashing to the ground. As the bear writhed in pain, the woman swiftly froze his limbs to the earth, then continued the icy encasement until he was a bare sickle. Looks like that's the end of that, she said with a smile. All right, you won. Now unfreeze him, the king shouted at her. That's not how my powers work, she shouted back, ensuring her voice carried to the king. Well then, break the ice. Sebastian chimed in, slamming the side of his fist into the arm of his throne. Certainly. As you all wish, she said with a charming smile, stepping closer to the bear and balling up her fist. As she pulled her fist back, Georgina's shout echoed from her throne. Wait, no. Stop. But she didn't stop. The punch was unleashed, and the impact sent cracks spiderwebbing across the ice before it shattered into countless pieces. "Wait, what the hell?" the king shouted. Georgina knew what was up, but the other three were left wide-eyed as they watched the still-frozen bear shatter into pieces. Another beast had been killed right in front of them, its body similarly in multiple pieces. "These damn humans," the king said, grinning his teeth in anger. Zola headed back to her spot, unaware that the king had charged up his fist, ready to shoot a lightning strike directly into her back. "No, my king," Georgina said, placing a hand on his thigh. "I apologize, but I don't believe this aligns with the rules of a tournament." "Forget that," the king retorted. "You told her to stop, and she ignored you. If you kill her now, the humans will believe they'll be executed regardless of winning. They won't fight with their full potential. It'll be a repeat of the first group. We can deal with them after the tournament concludes." The king ceased his electrical display. "Fine, but I better see some human blood spilled soon." "Omari! Omari! Omari!" Zuri continued to yell, as she often did while the two searched the woods for Omari, but still, there were no signs of him. "We've been searching for Omari in these woods for quite some time, calling out his name without any response. He's not here. It's time to turn back," Jabari stated. "Our search for Omari will have to extend to Wakahira. Are you certain you want to give up?" "I'm not giving up. I simply know Omari. He wouldn't have ventured this far into the woods alone. But we could be getting closer to the giant gorillas." "Really, Zuri? Enough with the gorillas. Yes, we do live right next to the woods, but gorillas certainly wouldn't know that to kidnap Omari. Now let's head back." The two walked until they reached the tree lines. Before even stepping out, they could hear Ada's voice, along with a few other deep voices. One of those voices Jabari was able to recognize after a short moment. After exiting the woods, they laid eyes on two messengers and two peacekeepers. The reason for their visit was to arrest Jabari and Omari. Well, looks like we meet again, sir," one of the messengers said with a straight face. "What are you two doing back here? And why did you bring peacekeepers with you?" Jabari asked, stepping forward a few more steps before halting. "I believe you know exactly why we are here," the ruder messenger responded, the same messenger Jabari wanted to hit with a sonic push during their first encounter. "I'm actively looking for my son Omari now. I don't know where he is, but trust me, we three will find him," Jabari said, gesturing between himself, Ada, and Zuri. "Good, then he can come with us because we are here for the both of you," the rude messenger said, nodding towards Jabari. "Jabari, what in the world is going on?" Ada asked, placing both hands on his shoulder. "Tell me, why are they looking for my son? He could already be in trouble. We don't need this right now. You remember that deal we all had with the king?" He whispered, then her eyes opened wide. "Yes, can someone please explain what's going on?" Zuri asked, her voice a mix of worry and fear. The same peacekeeper responded. "Ma'am, young lady, perhaps you're unaware, but missing the trials after voluntarily enrolling is against the law in our kingdom. Even though enrollment is voluntary, signing up creates an agreement not only with the king, but with the entire military and peacekeeping forces." "But didn't you hear my husband say we're looking for him? That should make it clear that something's wrong, right? So how are we supposed to find Omari if my husband's stuck in a cell? Guess you'll have to search without him, then, won't you? We have orders that must be followed, and that's our only concern. Maybe your husband should have explained the law to the boy, and he wouldn't have run off," the rude messenger retorted. "Watch how you talk to my wife," Jabari said sternly, his face hardening. "Exactly. What's your name?" Ada asked. "My name isn't anyone's concern. Maybe I'll tell you, should we meet again." "You've got a lot of mouth for a messenger," said Jabari. "Who cares? In a few moments, you'll be rotting in a cell." Jabari bared his teeth in a grin. The peacekeepers stepped forward, flanking Jabari, each placing a hand on his arms, forcing Ada to step back. "You can't arrest my husband, and you certainly can't arrest my son," Ada cried, tears streaming down her face. Zuri was speechless, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please comply with us, sir," a peacekeeper said politely. "The easier you make this for us, the easier we'll make it for you. And maybe, the less time you'll spend in a cell. However, that part isn't up to us." "Fine," Jabari answered. "It will be okay, you two. I'll figure something out." Both Ada and Zuri were crying uncontrollably. "Please no," Zuri sobbed, the only words she could get out. "All right, let's go." Jabari turned to Ada, his eyes locked on hers. "When you see our son again, Ada, You make sure you tell him the truth. The whole truth.